Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the Marginal Games podcast, episode 2. Took our time getting it out.
Long time coming.
We've lost a member in Barney. Unfortunately, he couldn't handle the stress and...
Camera shy.
Yeah, a bit camera shy. We lost Mullen as well, although he was never really here. So, let's get started. Today, Luke, what are you talking about?
So, are we talking about the killing of Charlie Kirk and its impact on American politics?
Are we talking about the Mandelson controversy? Dismissal?
That'll lead nicely into my point. Keir Starmer, should he stay? Should he go? Luke?
We're going to talk about the Charlie Kirk killing and its impact on American politics. As I'm sure you'll know, Charlie Kirk was a famous conservative commentator throughout the US politics and a known supporter of Trump's MAGA movement. He was shot and killed on the 10th of September, and his suspect, Tyler Robinson, aged 22, is in custody.
Just clarify, where was he shot?
He was shot at a Utah university with around 3,000 people attending his American comeback movement. The suspect is, like I said, he's in custody, and the FBI claim to have DNA prints that match to him. So, first of all, I think it's important to talk about the reactions in the wake of this killing. So, there's been widespread condemnation from both Democrats and Republicans, with Kamala Harris, Donald Trump and Obama all claiming and talking about its repercussions potentially for American polarisation. Utah Governor Spencer Cox has had it seems to be the voice of reason, stating, "This is not good for us. It's not good to consume. Social media is a cancer of our society right now. Do we escalate or do we find an off-ramp? It's a choice, and every one of us gets to make that choice." So this moderate approach by Spencer Cox, advocating for national unity in the wake of this crisis, is contrasted by Donald Trump, who's quickly blamed the radical left for the killing. So this is actually a catalyst for the political polarisation that's going on in the US at the minute. Trump's blaming of the left reinforces the idea that violence is politically motivated, a sense of fear-mongering, some may argue. Political scientists call this a radicalisation feedback loop, where violence breeds narratives of persecution, breeding more violence in turn, and this cycle can only get worse from here. Unfortunately, this has not been the first event of politically motivated assassinations in the US. Earlier this year in June, Democrat lawmaker Melissa Hortman was shot in her home, alongside Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette, who were also shot earlier that same night in a different town. Both of these were Democrats, and it is believed that the perpetrator was a Republican who had staunch anti-abortion views. This has been epitomised by Jimmy Kimmel, who earlier this week was cancelled and has now been indefinitely taken off air for his comments surrounding the Charlie Kirk assassination. Kimmel said that the Republican response was aimed at political point scoring rather than a genuine sense of remorse, stating, "The MAGA gang are desperately trying to characterise this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score points from it." The Federal Communications Commission said that Kimmel has directly misled the American public, and therefore he's been taken off air. This marks a crossroads for American politics, as it's another symbol of the increasing divide in the American system. Although some may argue that his comments were insensitive, others may see this as an overreach of federal authority and an attack on freedom of speech and the unequal standards in the American political system, as Trump regularly uses divisive language without consequence, yet a comedian gets pulled off air for mocking him. This feeds into the bigger theme in the bigger picture of the American system: political violence, partisan blame, and now the disciplining of satire, all point to an America where every event is filtered through division.
Before I talk about Mandelson, I've got some Twitter posts which show how stark this polarisation is. It's pretty visible. So James Woods, who's an actor, said, "Dear leftists, we can have a conversation or a civil war. One more shot from your side and you'll not get this choice again." Blatantly calling for political violence, talking about civil war. I think it's just absurd. Brian Allen, who's a left-wing commentator, has a conspiracy theory. He's accusing the Trump's regime of using Charlie Kirk's assassination as a pretext to abolish the First Amendment, round up Americans and Nazify the country. and that's absurd.
Absurd comments.
Yeah. The last one, which is perhaps the most absurd of them all, is from Scary Larry, which is a ridiculous name. Charlie Kirk was a racist, fascist, anti-LGBTQ, bigoted Nazi potato head.
So, on that note, let's
I'll
move
move-
over to Peter Mandelson getting sacked.
A bit more appropriate behaviour.
Okay.
So, Peter Mandelson was appointed UK ambassador to the United States under Keir Starmer, but some damning emails have resurfaced between him and convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, including one where Mandelson called Epstein his best pal, and another where he advised him to challenge his conviction in 2008. The Foreign Office admitted that the depth and extent of Mandelson's relationship with Epstein was materially different from what was known at his appointment. Maybe they're covering the tracks, I'm not sure. Obviously, Mandelson was he was part of the top echelon of the Labour Party. He had a lot of experience.
And
He
to
worked
be
with
honest,
Tony Blair.
throughout his career in the Labour Party, though, he wasn't far away from scandals the whole time. To be honest.
Really?
This is his third
Yeah,
sacking.
so,
Yeah.
1998, there was the home loan scandal where he didn't declare a loan used for property correctly, which landed him in some trouble. 3 years later, there was the passport for cash scandal where there were claims of him trying to help an Indian billionaire claim a British passport, which ended up actually getting him sacked. And then we also had the reports of close links of a Russian senior while he was EU commissioner, which made him tank out his job in the cabinet there as well. And then you had the appointment.
Yeah, he
Really?
was appointed in 2024 with a huge election victory. Starmer actually said if he had known the full information, he would not have appointed Mandelson. I mean, I'm not sure whether they knew he had a relationship with Epstein,
Yeah.
or they didn't know the
But
extent to which.
Yeah.
even from that, I think it's an interesting decision to still choose Mandelson.
Yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
Simon, his past
To be fair,
grievances.
he's done a decent job in negotiating the tariffs, though, as the UK have had the least amount of tariffs on
Yeah.
compared to the EU.
Also, there's not a clear replacement on ambassador to the United States is arguably our most important ambassador.
Yeah.
Starmer and even Trump this week with the state visit has declared how important the relationship between the United States and the UK is. Like special doesn't do it justice. So it's embarrassing that we have someone representing us.
With the visit, there are new trade deals coming through as well. Although they couldn't secure the release of the tariff on steel and aluminium, they still had that technology partnership to walk away with.
Yeah.
And although the figures might not be met, it still shows progress between the two countries. So I'm going into Keir Starmer, a lot of this surrounding scandals around Peter Mandelson have led to various people trying to get him gone, and people looking to run against him, such as possibly Andy Burnham, the elected mayor for Manchester. So, Keir Starmer, since the start of his government, there has been a lot of issues. Within the first, couple of weeks, there was the expenses scandal, which followed through into his changes which he tried to make to welfare and winter fuel allowances, which ended up in 60 plus MPs, led by Liz Kendall, the pensions and welfare minister, rebelling back in July. And ever since then, there's just been really internal turmoil.
Scandal,
yeah.
especially the huge one, Angela Rayner.
Yeah, so recently we've had Angela Rayner and the scandal surrounded her again on tax issues of her property, not paying enough stamp duty, and subsequent her stepping down. Then of course we have Peter Mandelson, who really, in my opinion, should never have been considered in that position anyway. But I really think it was down to Starmer prioritising his name and his political weight rather than connections over really what was a controversial figure.
Serious moral compromise from the Labour government.
And then from there, we've had a lot of defections to reform, and reform smashing them in the polls.
Yeah.
And currently, in recent polls, they're 18 points up, and Labour are actually only 1 1 point up over the Conservatives, who are at a historic low in the polls.
And also talk, I mean, everyone says reform is fracturing the right, talking about the Conservatives, but with Jeremy Corbyn's new party, there's a splintering in the left, especially the left-wing factions of the Labour Party are definitely unhappy with the Starmer.
Previously, a lot of the Labour left-wing factions were really behind Rayner and her in her position as Deputy Prime Minister. So I think losing Rayner is not going to help with this splintering of the left as well. So it does look like it's going to be a lot of parties going for this next election for when it comes.
First time in history.
I think it's very interesting though with the news of what happened with Jeremy Corbyn's and Zara Sultana's Your Party over this last few days. There's been infighting already, so I think that's interesting to see how that will play with the dynamic of the left-wing Labour Party.
And also we have Andy Burnham, who I've mentioned previously, is really big figure and highly supported, and for him to run he would need the backing of 80 MPs to challenge Starmer for his leadership. But to be honest, Andy Burnham isn't an MP, so first of all he'd have to win a by-election, which currently on the polls, Reform are going to be a big challenge to win, even if he does get that by-election. And even then, Starmer's got a huge majority, and there's nothing that much that is stopping him from just keep going and trying to improve his reputation from where he is currently. Okay, so the moment you've all been waiting for, the Q&A. Luke, take it away.
So I've got a question. Well, not for myself. This is
Just
from Anon. I don't know who that is. Right. So, is Reform UK a safe haven for ex-Tory ministers?
What's interesting?
So I think that although it can help out Reform, you know, having a bit of experience behind them and having some people who know then what goes on in Parliament and how it all works and how to run a government, you still have these figures which are may just be trying to make a name for themselves.
Save their jobs.
Nadine Dorris, who was Member of Parliament for the Conservative Party from 2019 to 2024. She was
Culture Secretary.
Yeah, so she's the first member of government, first Reform member who's actually served in the government, which is it's historic for them. But what I will say is, Nigel Farage the problems he says this country is facing right now are not just caused by this current Labour Party. This is what he's saying. It's also caused by the previous Conservative Party, how he claims that it disastrously handled Brexit. And you have a member of Boris Johnson's government come into the Reform Party, who clearly didn't get re-elected. Their career's on the downturn, and they're trying to revitalise their career.
And the fact that they said that they wouldn't accept Boris Johnson to the Reform Party either. It just kind of begged the question, where's the consistency?
And but there would be a huge problem if Reform were to, as the polls say, have this huge majority. Well, I mean, if it keeps up, and polls are polls, so they're not going to be overly accurate. But if they were to have hundreds of new MPs, none of them are going to really have too much experience within. So I think it could be a force for good and a force for bad for the Reform Party.
Okay. And now the final question to finish off this term's marginal gains video. If you were stuck on a desert island with one politician, who would it be and why?
This question was asked by
Ed Harrison.
Always asks a question. Great kid.
Yeah, great. Thank
Shout
you.
out to Ed.
And like the video in his honour. I mean, it's what he would have wanted. So.
And subscribe.
What he does want.
Okay, to answer your question, what politician would I get stuck with and why? Immediately, my head jumps to JD Vance. Obviously, combat vet. I don't think he was a combat veteran, but he served in Iraq. I think he was a photographer, actually. But, you know, he's got some experience in the field, in a harsh climate. If I was stuck on a desert island, having someone who's got some sort of military expertise to try and pull me through, I think that would work.
Luke, have you got anyone, or shall I finish
you
off?
go.
So I'd probably say Trump, because, you know, he's a lovely person. And I met him before, actually. He gave me a great big hug, and look, if you see here, it's me and Trump. So yeah, he's very nice.
He's also been on reality TV, so he's got experience.
Yeah, I know.
The Apprentice, good.
Luke, do you have any idea who you would choose?
Yeah, I would like to go David Lammy. I just think that he's a very nice chap, and I think he'd be quite nice to kind of chill out with a little bit,
Yeah, just chill. Yeah, chill guy. We can just have chats on the beach, maybe hold hands, something like that.
We could walk across the beach, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm slightly confused what you guys are inferring, but anyway, thank you so much, guys, for watching episode 2. It's been great.
Subscribe.